Hey guys, Omni here. It's time for New Rockstar's breakdown of episode 6, the finale of Ms. Marvel. It was a lot of fun, man. I had a blast with the show. It wasn't a smooth ride the whole way through, but man, it was fun. It was wholesome, and it just made me feel good the whole way through it, man. It was definitely, I think, out of all the Marvel shows we've had up to this point, I think the most feel-good show that they've put together, and I think that's one of the things. Like it just overshadows any of the flaws the show has for me, and I especially that finale was a whole lot of fun, and what it sets up and what it alludes to, even more interesting. So I'm excited to see where things go from here and what all New Rockstars has found throughout this episode. So we're going to go ahead and throw it over to Eric. If you're not subscribed to this channel, check it out. Link is below. But here we go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of Ms. Marvel episode 6, the finale, which establishes the MCU Kamala Khan is a mutant. With Kevin Feige erasing Inhumans faster than wanted at the mouth of their king.
No more Inhumans.
From major Marvel proclamations to twisty post-credit huhs, to this episode's astute attention to detail with MCU timeline logic, I am going to break down everything you missed this episode and explain it all without a Home Alone chalkboard. The episode opens back in Jersey City. Agent Deaver says,
"This is what happens when the wrong people get powers."
The wrong people.
Kids, Agent Barry.
Another microaggression from Deaver, but in this case toward
Youths.
kids having powers is a bit of a new trend in the MCU these days. A young Avengers team up is imminent. Also, all this talk of government crackdown on superheroes does remind us a lot of mutant registration, and that too is the era we are now in.
Yeah, that's true. Sokovia Accords and then mutant registration.
And head upstate, okay?
Upstate from New York? You know what else is upstate New York? Westchester, a pretty good place for a mutant to run away to. Now, we don't know yet if Kamran is a mutant as well. If he can harness his Norlight the same way Kamala can, maybe. Over the opening credits is a 2018 track by artist Janubi Karosh called Captain Space. Its title a nod to Captain Marvel, who swaps places with Kamala in the post-credit scene, likely connected to this captain's link to the Space Stone and Kree tech like the Negabands, which is what it looks like the Bengals are. We see the Statue of Liberty inexplicably green once more, even though Spider-Man No Way Home showed how it was being restored to its brown copper color, and No Way Home takes place before Ms. Marvel. This episode was deliberate about setting itself in 2025, so I don't know what's going on here.
Okay.
When I saw the Statue of Liberty in the No Way Home trailer, remember, I was like, X-Men 2000 reference, mutants are coming. Spider-Man. So I don't know, I choose to interpret this as Ms. Marvel showing me the Statue of Liberty in a title that does actually end with the proclamation of mutants in the MCU, as a nod to the famous climax of that 2000 film, a symbol of arrival to a new world. Both the immigrants of the Khan family, and we could paraphrase that poem as, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled mutants longing to breathe free." Kamala reveals her powers to her family, but they all already know. A little detail from the G. Willow Wilson's comics. Taisha asks,
"Are your powers limitless? Or do you have to recharge?"
Oh, yeah, Kamala doesn't get to answer, but this could be a nod to how in the DC comics, Green Lantern has to recharge. The Ms. Marvel titles take us back to Jersey City.
Yeah,
we see police.
Kind of what I was thinking of.
Blueprint, then Kamala's hand-drawn puppets from her video in episode 1, then imprinted on her high school hoodie, established
or a
2014,
Flash
referring to Kamala
thing
Khan's
where he's got to like calorie up.
Initially. Then in neon over the Circle Q store before it exploded, then on the school bus, then on an arm cast, because Bruno's arm is in a cast right now, and then on a digitized screen of an old Game Boy, or maybe a TI-83 calculator, then on a Jersey City police squad car, then on a train station destination board. Karachi is actually listed right above it. Then the neon outlines from Kamala's fantasy with Kamran back in episode 2. They're surrounded here by halal food carts, riding a hot dog past a Ferris wheel with hamburgers on it, then written as street paint, then painted on that graffiti wall among her and Bruno's cosplay pitches back from episode 1. I like how all the Avengers, by the way, depicted there are ones adjacent to Ms. Marvel on the Phase 4 lineup, including Doctor Strange, Black Panther, and Captain Marvel.
Nice.
And lastly, her pure Nor form, signaling the completion of Kamala's evolution on this show. Manima gives Kamala her own new suit in a Milk Toffees box. This is what Sana mailed the bangle to her in, and we learned in episode 4 Sana kept these boxes around her home in Karachi, and the women of this family bonded over eating these. Muniba began this season stitching Kamala an Avenger costume that Kamala did not want, but now Muniba makes one unique for Kamala that she needs, using elements from Kamala's journey. The embroidery, if you notice, takes the form of interlocking blue cubes. evoking the Tesseract, the cosmic tech that gave Carol Danvers
Or
her
the
powers.
crystalline
Kamala
structure of her hard light.
Disc set to Chai's light switch, the lyric being, "I want to see the light with no light switch." As Kamala learns this episode that her ability to manifest her light doesn't necessarily need the switch of her bangle. The bangle just kind of unlocked it. Now, Joff, the Euro King returns. A QR code appears in his truck. If you scan it this week, it's been updated to issue number 19 of G. Willow Wilson's Ms. Marvel Last Days arc, which ends with Bruno confessing his love for Kamala, but Kamala telling him she doesn't have room in her heart for a thing with him right now. This episode ends with Bruno leaving a letter for Kamala, and we have no idea what it said or if she even read it. Also, my favorite Easter egg this episode, Najaf's A sanitation grade is actually dated March 14th, 2025. Attention to detail from this show is actually trying to take seriously the MCU timeline, as this show would be set in spring 2025.
He also does
Hawkeye
not
was in
stop
Christmas
squeezing that
2024.
thing. That dude's overloaded with that spicy concoction.
In the mosque, notice how someone put their fancy shoes on the highest cubby hole on that wall? Probably to keep that short little shoe thief from snatching them. Also, on top of the shelving
could still
unit, some
climb that.
boxes block the hidden door that we see later. This is
you
where
really
Nakia
wanted to
and
get
Sheik
to them.
and the mosque bro hide the two of them. But Diva returns to the mosque and still refuses to take her shoes off while walking
Yeah, I
out
noticed
the
that
prayer
too.
floor.
I didn't
So
say anything,
rude.
but that
No
was definitely
cookies for
something
Diva.
I
Nakia
caught.
tries to block Diva.
It's holy.
Whoa, one of the agents totally just shoulder checked Deaver. She seems pretty isolated among her fellow DODC investigators. The DODC ain't all bad. The Sheik gives Bruno and Kamran the disguises of all caps, haram and halal, the words for forbidden and permissible. This is keeping up with the running MCU gag of using mere ball caps as disguises, starting in Captain America Winter Soldier, and then mocked in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Relax. No one's gonna recognize us.
What, because of hats and sunglasses? It's not a disguise, Hank. We look like ourselves at a baseball game.
And in Captain Marvel.
Does announcing your identity on clothing help with the covert part of your job?
Kamran's Nor spasms. Yeah, a little detail. I like how Kamala's Nor lights up on her hands instinctively as she covers her ears. And as Kamran screams, we can hear Najma's voice calling out to him. This would suggest that Najma might not be fully dead, that either her soul lives on as this Nor, maybe when her earthbound corporeal body eroded into a skeleton, her actual consciousness and her soul transferred to the Nor dimension where it now resides, and is continuing to puppet Kamran to try to carry out her evil plot to merge the Nor dimension into this one. When Kamala calls
That'd be an
Kareem,
interesting
he
way
is
to keep
examining
that
his
go.
map that Waleed uses to show the
Keep that
outline of the
go.
Nor
Keep
realm.
that
Now
going.
magnifying lens is fixed on the border between India and Pakistan, like Kareem might be seeing if the recent Vale incident might have changed the border between realms. And we find out that the Red Daggers just have random boatsmen at the New Jersey harbor ready to go at notice whenever. And secret, easy to navigate underground tunnels to get there. Throughout the school,
Yeah, I was
posters
like, that was
include,
weird, but
if you see
whatever.
trash, throw it away. And then Stones of Diversity, build a path to peace. And then a comic book club, nice. And then another one for Dustin Berry for president, a nod to the set crew member Dustin Berry on the show. Nakia joins them along with Zoe Zimmer.
What are you doing here?
The theater has good lighting. It's where I film my TikToks.
Remember in episode 2, Kamala and Bruno tested out her powers backstage at the theater, which might be how Zoe figured out Kamala was her hero. Their plan involves them swiping hoodies from lockers and a skeleton from a science lab. Notice how Bruno just goofs around in the background dancing with one. Bruno, Mistress Death, Phase 4 hookup confirmed. And these chemicals. The chalkboard actually lists hydrogen peroxide, dry yeast, warm water, and liquid dish soap, which actually are the ingredients for that elephant toothpaste foam that you see in YouTube videos. The DoD soldiers
dude,
armed
really?
with sonic
Hell
cannons.
yeah.
Now remember, these are Stark Tech, the repulsors he designed for the army to use on Hulk in the 2008 film, and then later installed in War Machine's armor in Civil War and in the drones in Far From Home. Actually, since the DoDC now owns those drones, they may have reverse engineered those repulsors from the drones themselves. And here, notice how they charge by using the same charge sound effect that Iron Man's technology uses. Nakia and Zoe load some softballs together.
I think Kamala should be able to tell the world when she's ready.
Yeah, this is a little nod to Zoe's situation in the comics. Zoe later reveals a major crush on Nakia. Zoe herself is definitely waiting to tell the world when she is ready. The DoDC agents bust in to find Bruno's AI
Interesting.
Amazon Alexa knockoff Zuzu, which plays Coco Karina from the 1966 Urdu film Arman, sung by Ahmed Rushdie. It's considered the first real pop song of Pakistan. The fact that they cut it off by blasting Zuzu is criminal. Zoe goes live on TikTok where the comments include, "Hang on, help is coming," hashtag help Zoe, everyone in Jersey City get to CHS, Avengers go to Coles High, Zoe needs you, on the way Zoe, hashtag popcorn, backup coming, Zoe Squad, on I-78, we helping our girl, stop commenting, go to CHS now. And then popcorn, remember, is a callback to Zoe's low-calorie video that Cleary really loved. Popcorn. Their plan involves them confusing the DODC agents by disguising themselves all in the same red hoodies and hats, a trick that we actually saw in the 1999 remake of the Thomas Crown Affair, and in my favorite episode of Nathan For You. Outside, Barry asks if he can multiply now, a nod to the Marvel Mutant Multiple Man.
And in season 3 of Avatar.
So they set up one of the skeletons to stab a knife into a balloon that pops the ingredients together to make the foam. Now notice they dressed up the skeleton to look like Norman Bates' mother from Psycho. They put a wig on it, and they also put a face and hair on the balloon. It makes no sense how many steps they added to this, but I love it. Kamala and Kamran hide in this office. This is actually Mr. Wilson's guidance counselor office. Now remember, Kamran interrupted Kamala and Bruno's kiss of the wedding, and now Bruno returns the favor to be the kiss miss. Bruno distracts the soldiers.
Nice.
I know you like these moves. Hey guys, what's going on?
Ouch! This is actually what happens whenever I try to dance. Government soldiers just come in and hit me in the face. But notice how it looks like Bruno is doing the same moves that he learned for the wedding dance. Nakia bikes into the gymnasium where the volleyball state champion banners also adhere to accurate MCU timeline logic. 2024 would have been the most recent season earlier that fall. They also won in 2022, 2019, and 2012. 2019, 2022 would have meant that they won 2 championships during the blip. I assume all the other volleyball teams were just very depressed. In the bathroom, there is a poster for the Hero Volunteer Club. No powers, no problem. Every bit counts. I mean, it kind of counts. Every kid who didn't have powers in the school got arrested. Kamran figures out his mother is dead.
She tried to destroy everything.
She was trying to save Alwa.
Yeah, there's that Najma music sting again. And as Kamran steps out to attack the DODC,
comes back
the
again,
sting plays for him as well. And then every time he does something really bad, it kind of seems like Najma's disembodied soul is kind of possessing Kamran in this episode. Kamran uses his Nor for hostile attacks, while Kamala uses her powers defensively. She forms a shield to protect both of them, but Deeper wipes it out with the big sonic cannon, just like the truck-mounted one in the 2008 Hulk film. But then Kamala says it.
Embiggen.
Yes, the magic word for the comics that we have been waiting for, because this is what Kamala is supposed to do. She's supposed to embiggen. In this case, it is the Nor stretching out her limbs, and we see a slightly scaled up version of Kamala. And I love how this pays off the references throughout the series to Ant-Man. Her various doodles, the mural in Karachi, her comparing herself in episode 2 to Ant-Man's eternal youth. Our girl finally embiggens. Now the quick editing suggests they might have had a limited VFX budget to show this on screen for too long, and really few shots give us a sense of her actual scale, but there is one quick cut as Kamran flips over the truck at the crowd. The wide shot shows her to be about 10 feet tall. And this hero shot of Kamala with her embiggen fists is the angle of her Thor Love and Thunder uses when they added her to that movie's Marvel Studios title card. Kamala encases them both in a dome of their own Nor so they can have their heart-to-heart. Now, while the series retcons Kamala as a mutant instead of an Inhuman, I like to think that this dome does at least represent a Terrigen cocoon for them, at least metaphorically, both of them emerging from it transformed. Kamala's transformation to her final form is really the final layer of her suit armor, her Jersey City community forming a human shield, including the JCPD, all of whom have her back. And as she flees off into the night sky, the overhead shot of the crowd cheering, notice Bruno at the center of it all, just sadly pumping his fist. He's like, yeah, Caltech it is for me. Then a TikTok montage showing Paul from episode 2 reenacting Kamala's moves like that Star Wars kid meme. Notice how his name is Master Paul 616, a nod to the 616 universe, which this MCU is now designated as of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We also see the Sheik, who later becomes a hot dog filter, and then the Euro King Najaf, and the Mosque Bro, and Mr. Wilson, aka GWW Not the Bridge, proving that he was the guy defending Nightlight on TikTok. Okay. Then Auntie Ruby, and then this account.
She looks so familiar.
Yes, the real GWW
I didn't even realize.
By G. Willow Wilson, the actual comics writer behind the 2014 series that this is all based on. And then it ends with this little jerk.
She's a freaking action superhero. Mad skills.
Yes, Hami Dizzle is the shoe thief whom Kamala saved in episode 2. His caption, of course, is ice cream pizza for life because he loves it. We get this moment where Kamala nervously
Oh, come on. You're not going to talk about the little line where he's like, she got a lot better since when I guess I was the beta test or whatever when she dropped him. I just loved that little line, calling it that whole like botched, I wouldn't even say botched, just sloppy save, a beta test.
self-reflection and strikes her comics pose, this bookending Kamala's awkward adjustments to her cosplay in front of the mirror back in episode 1. Back then she was a pretender, now she is the real deal. Yusuf tells his daughter,
hell yeah.
And if you saved one life, well, you saved the world.
Yes, this is a verse from the Quran. Whoever saves a life, it is as though he had saved the lives of all mankind. In this case, saving Kamran literally saved this realm from destruction. And if you remember back to the first Iron Man, Jensen and Tony Stark, time proved that by saving Tony Stark, he saved everything in reality. Yusuf reveals that they named her Kamala because Kamal means perfect in Arabic, while in Urdu it is closer to wonder or marvel, making her their little Ms. Marvel. So if you think about it, her mother gave Kamala the suit that was made from gifts from Waleed and Kareem with a sigil from her necklace that had her own name in Urdu. Her grandmother provided the bangle, Bruno provided the mask, and now her father provides the name Ms. Marvel. And I just love this shot of Yusuf watching her go.
So good.
Magic. Absolute magic.
We see her leaping away, reflected in the lenses of his glasses. And Kamala sits on the lamplight looking across the river at Manhattan, her red scarf in the breeze, recreated directly from the cover of Ms. Marvel #5. And I always just love how this image frames Kamala as a Jersey City hero, not rumbling with the bigger names in the city, but opting to protect her home neighborhood on this side of the river. 1 week later, Bruno shows up wearing a shirt reading either Gigawatt or Gigawatt, either way a nod to his past Marty McFly look, and he explains why the bangle in the Noor empowered Kamala, but not the others of her family, making the boldest declaration we have heard in the MCU in quite some time.
Kamala, there's something different in your genes. Like a mutation.
Whatever it is, it's just gonna be another label.
Holy shit! Yes, that was Ron Wasserman's 90s X-Men animated theme, which we also heard when Charles Xavier floated in Multiverse of Madness. Yes, folks, Kamala Khan in the MCU is a mutant. This is the first 616 character defined as such in the MCU, and hearing the word mutation is such a huge deal. Now, making Kamala Khan a mutant is a retcon from the comics where Kamala is an Inhuman. Now, just a bit of background on the Inhumans. The Inhumans were really established in 1965. In the 80s, Marvel kind of backburnered them as the X-Men really became the dominant title of the brand until 1998, when a really great award-winning series by Paul Jenkins revitalized the Inhumans. And then in the 2000s, when Marvel Studios began producing films and TV, Marvel CEO Ike Perlmutter, overseeing a different division of Marvel like the merch and the toys separate from Kevin Feige, Perlmutter temporarily halted new X-Men comics from being written to instead focus on titles like Inhumans. Why? To give the company a way to produce mutant-esque movies and TV shows without having to go through Fox, because Fox owned the X-Men. So basically Perlmutter was like, stop doing X-Men comics, we don't want to help out a rival studio. Which is a real bummer,
yeah,
because
I remember
in previous
all that.
decades, new Marvel heroes would get introduced and just be casually established as mutants. But Kamala Khan got her powers by breathing Terrigen mist and entering a cocoon and coming out with stretchy powers categorized as an Inhuman. So we could look at this as Kevin Feige just restoring Kamala Khan to what she probably would have been if not for Perlmutter's weird business decision. Then again, fans of the Inhumans and the ways the Inhumans were explored in the ABC series and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. might see this as Inhuman erasure, and I totally hear them. But as much as I really love Inhuman characters like Black Bolt and Quake, I don't need Kamala Khan to be an Inhuman as well. And Black Bolt being in Multiverse of Madness means that Inhumans exist throughout the multiverse, including this one most likely, and Kamala being a mutant opens up other doors for the MCU. Remember, at Comic-Con in 2019,
she was originally
Kevin Feige
meant to be a
promised that
mutant.
Mutants were coming, but he did not say X-Men necessarily, just mutants. And now we learned this is what he meant. Mutants, of course, include the X-Men, but also the Mutant Brotherhood, the Runaways, Deadpool. Namor is technically Marvel's first mutant, and we're gonna meet that guy in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And do not be surprised if they call him a mutant in that movie. And of course, Wanda Maximoff and her sons are also often considered mutants. Mutants all share the mutant gene, or the X gene. It occurs randomly throughout the population and can get triggered by puberty, trauma, or energy exposure, or some other kind of stimulus. In Kamala's case, it was the bangle. Kamala's bloodline came from the Noor dimension, but no one else in her family had powers, even with the bangle. Only Kamala, because of her unique mutant gene activated by the bangle that allows her to draw power from her ancestral dimension. Yes, it's a little confusing. Yes, it might have made more sense just to make her an Inhuman, but oh well, now we get mutants. And along with Kamala while many more individuals will soon be established to have a mutant gene as well. Maybe some who have always been here just outside of our view. Like in 616, Magneto could have still had an origin in World War II, we just haven't seen it yet. Other mutants may arrive into 616 from another universe via an incursion, like how 838 had Patrick Stewart as Professor X, and Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool is confirmed to join the MCU. With Secret Wars on the horizon, any number of beloved X-Men actors could join the MCU as well. Look folks, we're going to be discussing the mutants a lot more in future videos. This was a seismic game changer and I am stoked. Nakia says,
"Get in, losers, we're getting shawarma."
Both a nod to the Avengers' favorite post-battle snack and the line from Mean Girls.
Get in, loser, we're going shopping.
The closing credits merge imagery from Jersey City and Karachi, showing how both sides of Kamala's worlds are now united. Then on to the post-credit scene, where Kamala's bangle glows a new color and her body twists into ribbon, and then she wakes up as Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, Brie Larson making a cameo. While at first this reads like a nod to Kamala's initial transformation as she left the Terrigen cocoon into a doppelganger of her hero Captain Marvel in the comics, really what happened here was Kamala and Carol swapped places, because she doesn't look at her own body in the mirror confused, she just kind of looks around her surroundings confused where she is. But notice how Carol's suit is updated, whereas before it was blue on top and red in the midsection and legs. Now it is red on top and blue everywhere else, down to blue boots. It actually looks more similar to her 90s look at the end of the Captain Marvel film. She also does not wear the full red gauntlet length gloves, her forearms are bare, now with shorter wrist length fingerless gloves. Also notice Kamala's teleportation just looks different than you'd expect. Her body twists into ribbony putty. We haven't seen this kind of production design in the MCU. There's no glowing portal, thank God. It's a whole new design, meaning a completely new form of technology and magic is unfolding before our eyes. And in Marvel Comics, when characters like Nightcrawler teleport, they're actually traveling through the medium of another dimension in between those points. For Nightcrawler, it's the Brimstone dimension. Here, I think it is teleportation through the negative zone, because I think the bangle is alien Kree technology based on the Kree negabands from Captain Marvel comics. In those comics, the negabands were given to Captain Marvel by the Kree Supreme Intelligence and trapped him in the negative zone. Meanwhile, on Earth, former Avenger Rick Jones uses these bands, clinks them together to trade places with Captain Marvel, just like these two women are swapping places. So I think Carol was in possession of the other bangle, the long lost one. Assuming these bangles are Kree tech and that the 10 rings are Kree tech, the pulsing beacon of the 10 rings could have been summoning the Kree Empire to Earth to acquire the second bangle. Meanwhile, Carol found one of these bangles and in this moment spatially swapped places with Kamala. And the reason Carol says, oh, no, is that maybe she was in the negative zone in that moment. And now she knows she is now cosmically handcuffed to some poor girl who loves her, but now she doomed that girl to a frightening dimension, setting all this up for the Marvels next summer. And since Kamala is now a mutant, who knows, maybe it makes it likelier that Rogue will appear in that movie and drain Carol's powers. But I use the
that
word
would be
doomed,
cool.
and that was no accident, my friends, because I think Doom is going to play a very big part in all of this. The Multiverse of Madness producers just confirmed that they designed Reed Richards' portal on the technology of Victor Von Doom's time platform. I think the MCU may be bracing to introduce Doom. So there you have it, folks.
I hope so,
Mutants, time travel.
Doom has me excited.
Teleportation, the 10 rings, alternate dimensions, the DODC, magic, Scott Lang's podcast, and then all of it wrapped together in a hug of wholesome family coming of age vibes with a killer soundtrack. I loved this show. Thank you for joining me on these breakdowns of it. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EAVoss. Follow New Rockstars, subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Dude, yeah, hell yeah, man. All right, man, that brings a close to a major change, major reveals to the MCU, man. And I gotta say, like, it blew me away, man. It hit me. And yeah, I mean, I didn't know that about Kamala, and like, I remember because Fox was pumping out all those X-Men movies or whatever, and Marvel couldn't really do anything, and they wanted to try to leverage the rights away from Fox at the time, who didn't want to sell any of it. I remember they were like, all right, well, you don't want to give it to us. This happened with Fantastic Four at 1.2. It's like, we'll stop making your books. So they stopped making their books, trying to like reduce the amount of eyes that they would be getting, but it didn't really work. But I didn't realize that also played a part in why Kamala was made an Inhuman, when the writers apparently originally, the creators of that comic originally wanted to make her a mutant, but that Marvel said, at that time period. That's some information I didn't know. It makes it a little interesting. So if going back to that, I think that's kind of interesting. I think that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable, I guess, with them making her a mutant. I still don't know how her mutant gene ties into the Bangle connection to the Noor, because that's not really a I don't know, it doesn't really feel like that's much of a mutation. Otherwise, it just allows her to siphon energy from that dimension through the Bangle. I don't know. Seems more like of an amplifier rather than an actual power, which do exist. There are mutants that merely exist to make other mutants more powerful or even just weaker. So I don't know. I kind of hope that maybe something happens to the Bangle, maybe its connection to whatever else gets kind of cut off, and then maybe when she's part of something that's got a much higher budget, that maybe something will happen and she'll actually lose access to the Noor, and her actual mutant power will be the stretchiness. And they'll go into that. That's kind of my hope, my thoughts, my speculation on where it might go. But we'll see. I'm excited to see where her and Carol and Monica go and how the whole thing pans out. Because especially after the show, I'm even more excited for the Marvels. Like, I was looking forward to it. I was going to see it like any other Marvel movie, but especially after this show, like it definitely got me way more hyped up for it than I was before. Because I really like this character, and honestly, after watching the show, I've been extremely tempted to just pick up the run of comics and give it a go. It's been a long time since I've done something like that, and I don't know. I really want to read it. This character, I don't know, speaks to me, man. But guys, what'd you think of the series? What'd you think of the breakdown? Sound off the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. Feel free to join us in our Discord. We can talk about it there as well. Links to that and all my socials in the description box below. Remember, we're going to be checking out She-Hulk in August and pretty much everything else that's coming to Disney Plus, whether it be Star Wars or Marvel or whatever. So got a little something for everybody here coming around the corner, so stick around. Before we go, I want to shout out our channel legends: Mandy Sherritt, Ryan Karen, Jason Coleman, Philly Vane, Yori, Corey Scott, Margaret Grace, Mary Bradley, Melita, Robert Anguiano, Cal Kestis Nation, and Raven McCann. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. But that's it for now, guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.